What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/NuclearRevenge. Alright, this first story involves everyone's favorite target, the vegan. Alright, it's called Irritating Vegan Temp Takes Office Pranks Way Too Far, So I Destroy Her Entire Life Paradigm. Just found this sub and couldn't stop reading. Felt compelled to share one of my more epic revenge tales from about 8 years ago. At the time, I was male, 27, a 7-year veteran at a large tech corporation. Senior designer on the communications team by then. The senior copywriter went on maternity leave, leaving a temp in her place. Although irritating in a non-descriptive way, she presented well and seemed competent enough. For later context, she was also an uber dog lover and a staunch and righteous vegan social justice warrior. There were frequent, mutual, and innocent team pranks. Things like replacing a box of diet cookies with a box of Krispy Kremes, or covering the laser on someone's mouse. Like, "Oh, you dog, you got me," kind of things. Now let me fix that and let you get back to work. Being desperate for acceptance, new temp started taking things a bit far, and seemed to focus pranks directly towards me. Even after a few subtle reprimands from our manager, she continued. Things like slipping inappropriate photos or comments into a PowerPoint presentation on the shared drive I was about to give, or fake crying during morning stand-up just to gauge reactions. Her novelty wore off fast. Fast forward to the morning after my birthday. She knew I was going to be hungover. I get to my desk, red-eyed and thirsty as hell, grabbed my water bottle at my desk, which I always kept full, and started chugging like it was going to save my life. It was straight vodka, at least 2 full swallows before I realized. I go straight for my garbage bin to throw up. The slurry of alphabet soup, at least 6 cans of beer, and God knows what else she put in there, made damn sure I did hurl. I got most of the vodka out, but already being hungover, it made me instantly drunk again. I was not impressed. She came in laughing her brains out, taking full claim. I didn't narc on her, but the story made its rounds to HR, and she was given a stern warning. I would have accepted an apology, even remorse, but not a shred. In fact, she started calling me Pukey McGee to literally no one's fanfare. I let it pass for a few weeks, waiting for the attention to die down. Revenge Day finally arrived. She always left at 10 a.m. to get Starbucks. I took this time to plaster lost dog posters anywhere outside the office she might stumble by on her way back. She fell for the bait, asking around, but no one was the wiser. Once she was cozy at her desk, I went to her car to stage a hit-and-run massacre. With chunks of fatty steak, a liter of fake blood, an old leash and collar, and a bag of fake fur. I went to work. I'd share the pic, but it's long gone. But it was very convincing. It looked like a leash was caught around her rear passenger axle, and the dog got clogged and shredded between the tire and wheel well. I left the collar dangling out the back with a particularly generous portion of gore and a puddle of blood. It didn't take long before others noticed the lost dog posters or the gory car and put 2 and 2 together. Eventually, the owner of a white so-and-so with license plate such and such, please come to reception, went over the intercom. It's on. It was delicious. She was out in the lot sobbing so hard she was coughing, carefully placing chunks of bloody, furry gore into a box. It took her an hour to gather every precious bit, crying the entire time. My theory was that she wanted to return the dog to its owner as best she could before calling the number on the poster. Was a shame there was no owner or dog, but she was too distraught to realize it was fake. I thought for sure the lack of bones or guts, and obviously fake, sticky stage blood, would be a near instant giveaway. But to my utter shock, it wasn't. A scenario I wasn't expecting, but welcome just the same. It was just assumed the dog owner had printed the wrong number on the poster because the remains were never returned. She had the collar and leash cleaned and posted posters of her own in hopes of finding the owner. Given her reputation, there wasn't much sympathy offered. The righteous vegan dog lover was now a dog killer, and I took every chance I could to remind her of that. She took down all her gaudy dog lover crap off her desk and kept very much to herself for the remainder of her term. Bonus that she even left early, but not sure if I can take credit for that for certain. Disclaimer, for those that will likely claim she just liked me and wanted my attention, I assure you that was not the case. There's way more background than just this story, even if it were. This was in adulthood, not grade school. Edit. I thought I should clear a few things up based on the comments. OP is not a vegan, however, is a huge animal lover. Owns several dogs, cats, and has rescued many animals, wild and domestic. OP has nothing against vegans, just the ones that preach it. Relevant distinction for her personality and subsequent reaction, not the reason for revenge. Steak bits was an easier way of describing a bag of butcher scraps at the time. To make it clear to the ones that thought this was petty revenge for minor inconveniences, here is a list of some of the more inconvenient pranks. Replacing water with vodka was just the last straw, and is tantamount to poisoning, illegal and quite possibly fatal. Medication alone could seal that deal quite quickly. Hiding car keys, then leaving, wasted hours of people's lives, but was welcome news to cab companies. Pulling fuses from cars is dangerous, again could be fatal. Brake lights? Headlights? Airbags? All very important, you should think, right? Releasing tire pressure. Does your office have an air compressor on hand? Lacing others' presentations with profanity and photos could be career-ending. Not inconvenient to have to check every file before sending or presenting. In hindsight, I do regret not coming clean. The believability was not expected and I froze, but the pranks most definitely stopped. When bullies don't get the point from a passive and apathetic authority, the only route is to pop them straight in the nose. Good and hard. Again, to those thinking this was too nuclear, why are you on the sub anyways? There's fight subs I'm sure need your wisdom about non-violence. After this blew up, I reached out to a mutual friend that also worked there. He said she most definitely did catch on, for which I'm actually glad. See number 5. The cleaned up collar poster was her return salvo to garner sympathy. As mentioned, no bones, no guts, and the fabric backing with printed barcodes on the fake fur should have been a giveaway to even marginal intelligence. And she wasn't intellectually stupid by any means. Oh, that's pretty good revenge. I think this is more pro-revenge than nuclear revenge. It would have been nuclear if, they made her actually hit a dog with her car. But anyways, still funny. Kinda disappointed that she wasn't actually vegan. That's some major clickbait there, buddy. Alright, this story's called Don't Mess the Sweet Old Lady's Cat When the Neighborhood Has a Kid Who Knows Everyone. A little about me first. I was a scrapper as a kid and knew everyone in the neighborhood. I made money babysitting kids and knew the older kids because I was permitted to roam. I am also one of those people that people will tell their darkest secrets to, and I had earned a lot of trust in my neighborhood. I was a pack leader and people generally did what I said. Okay, enough about me, on to the revenge. This is a bit of a long one, but you'll enjoy it. Oh, not on mobile, ran it through Grammarly, so whatever errors, I don't give a crap. This is an old story, back from when I was young. I can't remember the exact age, but it was around 9 or 10, which would be the early 90s. I lived in a small neighborhood. There were not many kids, and the ones there were mostly older, teens. The brunt of the community was older people. The neighborhood was built in the early 40s and filled up with people after World War II, and many of them stayed there. On the block south of me was this old butthole who pretty much hated everyone. If something that was a kid's, like a ball or a frisbee, and the kid asked for it back, he would destroy it right in front of them. One time, a kid parked his bike in the swale, city-owned property that was outside the home, and this butthole took the bike and destroyed it. This butthole has a major vendetta against cats. We did not have a feral cat problem, but many people, including my own, had cats that were indoor and outdoor. We were not on the main road and there was little traffic. Most of the cats didn't go far from home, usually just went out chasing pigeons and the few garter snakes that were around. They always came home at night unless they ended up in this butthole's yard. He started by trapping cats and taking them to the pound. Many families in the neighborhood would get calls about their cats being turned in and having to get them. My family, who were well known at the pound, my mother was an animal lover, to an annoying extent, and we were there often. We would get calls to inform us that one of our cats was there. When Butthole found out that trapping cats wasn't getting rid of them, is when he escalated. He started poisoning them, but many lived because the symptoms were caught early enough. He was using antifreeze, so he escalated again. And that is when crap got serious. Suddenly, cats all over the neighborhood were dying, and no one could figure out why. It wasn't until the cat of a sweet old lady got out of the house. She was indoor only, but got out during a package delivery. 3 days later, the cat showed back up, sick and dying. This woman was not poor, and this was a costly cat. Angora, I think. Maybe Persian. It was a white fluff ball. And this woman loved that cat. She took the cat to the vet, and it was determined that the cat had a belly filled with glass shards, but the damage was too massive, and the cat died while at the vet's office. This woman was furious. This got around the neighborhood, and it was me who told them that I knew who did it. I thought this because since my mom and I were frequent visitors to the pound, they told my mother who it was that kept bringing our cats, and with a little prodding, we found out that all the cats that came from our neighborhood were brought in by the same person. I told this wonderful older woman who I thought did it, and she has a pistol. She got in her caddy and rolled up to this butthole's house and confronted him. I was a bit of a free roam kid back then, had to be home by the time the streetlights came on, so I made sure to ride my bike over to see what the fireworks would be like. She rolled up and pulled up in his driveway, got out of the car, and pounded on his door. I mean, pounded. Butthole opens the door and she begins softly, saying that something terrible had happened to her cat and that she was just going door to door to find out if anyone knew what happened. Butthole responded with a humph reaction. I wasn't close enough to hear everything that was said because of this butthole's hatred of children, but I was close enough to hear what happened next. Sweet old lady went from 0 to baseball pitcher in 0.000000001 seconds. She poked her finger in his chest and said, "I think it was you, you craggy son of an itchbay. I know that you have been taking cats to the pound, and I bet you are the one that killed my princess." Yeah, that was the cat's name. This butthole just smirked and said, "Yeah, glass and cat food and some catnip will always work to get those destructive beasts out of the neighborhood. I will keep on doing it, and you can do nothing to stop me." Sweet old lady hauled and slapped this butthole across the face and turned around and walked back to her car. I was good friends with sweet old lady and often spent time at her house after school because she was alone and needed some company. She was always very kind to me. When I went over next, I asked what happened after she left. She told me she called the cops, but without concrete proof, there was nothing that they could do. When they spoke with the butthole, he admitted trapping cats and taking to the pound, but never said anything about the glass. Sweet old lady was beside herself because she wanted justice for Princess. I got an evil grin on my face and said, "Don't worry, you'll get justice." She looked at me and smiled and nodded her head. You see, this all happened in the first part of October. I knew just about every kid and teen in the neighborhood, free roam thing, and I told all of them what happened. The total was about 20 kids and teenagers that I said, with about 12 of them being teens who could drive and had their incomes. I told them all what I thought we should do. I laid out the entire plot and we all worked to get the things that we needed. When Halloween rolled around, I was unfortunately not able to fully participate in this thing because I sadly got grounded for getting into a fight with a boy in the neighborhood. I broke his nose, but he grabbed my tit. I was an early bloomer. I wasn't going to stand for that. Still, I did find out about the aftermath. Halloween night. About 15 people late in the night converged on Butthole's house. As luck would have it, he was not home at the time. His car was still there, but a neighbor relayed to the group that he had left in a car with someone else. The group shattered every window and mirror in his car. Once the windows were broken, they opened the door and destroyed the interior. They poured sand in the gas tank and did something to the engine block. Don't remember what. They broke every window in the house, including a sliding glass door in the backyard. All screens were shredded, and they put super glue in all the door locks and super glued the mailbox shut. Once the screen was torn, they gained entry. They did not steal anything, but they destroyed the inside of his house. They spray painted everything, including the words, "For Princess," on a wall inside the home. Polaroids were taken, and I got to see the destruction. They also, just to put the cherry on top, egged and teepeed the place. This, from what I was told, took about 3 hours in total, and neither the neighbor next to him or across the street said a damn thing or called the cops. The group left and went back to their homes like it was just a typical Halloween night. I found out from my neighbors, I was very well known in my neighborhood and people tended to tell me things with ease, that the total amount of damage was around $20,000. This was in 1990 to 1991, so a crap ton of money. And it seems that the group destroyed some very precious things that he had. Now, the one thing that they did that I am not proud of is they dumped the urn that contained his late wife's ashes. I think that was a schlong move, but I still believe that he deserved it. This butthole was furious, but no one saw a damn thing. It took him about a year to get everything fixed. He told the neighbor that his car insurance would not cover the damage to his car, and he had to buy a new car. And the car was one of those old Lincoln land boats that probably adds another $15,000 to $20,000 onto the total. Police were called, but there was nothing found. This was before DNA and all the fancy CSI crap, so it was pretty much dust for Prince and then be on their merry way. He tried to go after sweet old lady, but it fizzled. There was no proof she had anything to do with it. The great thing about all this? There was never another cat that vanished from the area. The butthole died about a year before I left the neighborhood at 18. From what I heard from a neighbor, he was raging about what happened to anyone who listened. Once I was able to roam again, I was able to get the Polaroids from a friend who gave them to my mom in a sealed envelope. I went to sweet old lady and showed her the pics. She just smiled and gave me $20. She lived for another 3 years. She was wonderful during that time. I wish I still had the Polaroids, but they were lost when I got kicked out of an apartment due to my butthole ex. But that is a story for another sub. Wow, that's definitely revengeable. Kidnapping and killing your neighbor's cat, that's sadistic. That's honestly really messed up. I don't want to say good thing he's dead, but I mean, at least he can't do any more damage now that he is, right? So what do you guys think? Was that revenge justified? Was it not good enough? Or was it too far? I don't think anyone's gonna say it's too far, but I wonder how far they should have taken it in your eyes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.